Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're at. Welcome to the Joy Show. I'm Barbara Schreiner Trudell, your host, and I'm so delighted that you chose to join us this afternoon. I'd like to begin with our land acknowledgement. We work, live, and play on the historical and traditional territory of many First Nations. And as we gather on Turtle Island, we as settlers are grateful for the opportunity to meet here. And we thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years, including the Métis, Inuit, and all other Indigenous people. Also, acknowledging that as we continue to grow and expand on these lands, there is still unresolved and dangerous inequality and discrimination toward our BIPOC and 2S LGBTQ plus family. And as we make these acknowledgements, we are striving to be allies and to take an active part in reconciliation. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. My guest today is a dynamic woman. Shay Michelle Davis has a calling, and it is to share and teach what she has learned on her spiritual journey over the last 5 decades. She feels blessed to have the life that she has. She's been practicing holistic health since 1994 and has a master's degree in counseling psychology. So she pairs philosophical, scientific, and new thought ageless wisdom teachings to bring about abiding love, peace, joy, happiness, wealth, safety, and provision to individuals and to the mass consciousness. She is being the change she wants to see in the world through embodying God's qualities. So, welcome, Shay, and let's talk about
Thank
miracles.
you so much for having me. It's a miracle that I'm here on this show.
It is the Joy Show. Yeah, I'm so glad you're here. Now, you specialize in miracles. You're going to have a new show on the New Thought Media Network called We Are Miracles. Wham!
Wham! We are
Wham!
miracles. Wham!
I love that. I love that. And when is the show starting?
We do not have a date yet. It keeps evolving,
Yes.
and we are just going with the flow. It
Beautiful.
will be when it will be. And in the meantime, I'm having so much fun making guest appearances. Super
Good,
fun.
good. Well, we're glad you're here. So tell me about miracles. What got you started on this whole miracles thing? Like, what's going on?
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, it started, way back when I was a child, it started. I just started noticing coincidences like in the I don't know what you would want to even call them here anymore in new thought. It's serendipity, but like way back in the day I just started noticing things that were supernatural. I mean, pretty much supernatural. And when I was about 40, about 10 years ago or so, I had something so weird happen
Mhm.
that I went back to look at all of these things that happened. And I'll just tell you though, just the super crazy one that happened that really it actually flipped me out at the time. I mean, the miracle started way, 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 way back when I was 16 years old looking through a microscope in science class. I saw the workings of a cell.
Yeah.
And I started studying science in just my junior year of high school. And I looked at it and I said, I wasn't raised with a spiritual thing going on. And I
Yeah.
said, that's God. Like there's God working in that cell. Like I didn't know what God was, but I knew that when I looked at that cell that was God. So I
Yeah.
went on this whole spiritual quest. So, that was a miracle in and of itself. And then I had gone to graduate school and I was in my private practice many years ago, and I had written an article on grief. And I thought, oh, this is a really good article. It got published. I was really proud of myself. It was great. And I thought, oh, I'm going to send this to my colleague that I was in graduate school with. And I was sitting at home working one day and I had my book out and I was writing down people. And I had sent it out to all the people that I wanted to send it to, but I forgot the grief specialist guy. I'm like, oh, I forgot to send it to this guy. Well, the TV was on and the volume was turned down and I wasn't looking at it. I was just doing my work. And I could not think of this guy's name. Now, I spent 3 close years with this person in graduate school where we were doing therapy on each other all the time. And his name would not pop. And I just could, I could say so. I sat down, I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this guy's name? I cannot remember his name. And I concentrated on his name for several minutes and it wouldn't pop. I said, okay, I give up. And so I wrote in my calendar, I said, send the grief article to, that guy from graduate school that you can't remember his name. I said, okay. So I said, okay. So I closed my book and I looked up on the TV, which was on, and there he was on live TV on the Oprah Winfrey Network with Shania Twain doing an interview on grief. And okay, so now crazy things have happened before, but I think this was the craziest miracle, serendipity, coincidence, because I was not paying attention to that TV. I looked up on the TV and he was on there. And then his name, Ted Weird. I'm going to say a shout out to Ted Weird right now because he has a place down in New Mexico where he's doing grief workshops. So he's up there with Shania Twain. I had also just been thinking about Shania Twain because her voice went out. Shania Twain's voice went out, and I said, oh, I can help Shania Twain, and I tried to get a hold of her. So 2 people that I was just thinking about were on TV. Now I put the TV on pause. And I went on the TV to make sure it was him. So that sent me into looking back at how many things like that had happened to me. And I came up with a stack of 100 things that were as crazy as that, if not more crazy. And so now I concentrate on them all the time. And then I found New Thought and it just comes into a whole big thing. So that's that story.
That's very cool because it's so interesting how we have an idea or a thought about something and then there's a manifestation that matches it almost immediately. And sometimes immediately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thought became a thing right there in front of me. And so I know, and that's where I get into all of my little tricks about manifestation. Because I know if I could
want to hear those.
Oh, okay.
About manifesting, that's something that would interest everybody, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, way back in the day when The Secret first came out and What the Bleep and all of that, when Michael Bernard Beckwith really started to be popular and like in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I was really into it, and I cut my teeth on old school Wayne Dyer and those kinds of people. So I've been in New Thought for decades and decades.
Yeah.
And one of my very first vision boards I did in what would that be, 2019 or so. And I wanted to manifest myself a house. And so it was about 2019. Yes, it was. No, what am I saying? 2009. Okay, little brain fart here going on. Yeah, 2000. Now I'm really confused. No, it was a long time ago. It was right before my dad died. It was right after 9/11.
Yeah.
So that was 30 years, 20, whatever years ago. So I wanted to manifest a house. So I made a vision board and I put a house in the middle. I had no money, hardly any employment, not very many resources. And I was living in a little trailer that a friend of mine had helped me buy by co-signing for me. Yeah. And I just concentrated on it. And in the meantime, I was clearing out old belief systems. I took a piece of paper and a journal and I started writing down all of the things that I believed that were not serving me. And I flipped them around. So I flipped them all around and I had a giant list of them. And it was transformative for me. I was 29 years old and I was doing all of this work and it was beautiful. So I was doing what was required to manifest things, which is clearing out all of those old belief systems and all of the, I have suffered a lot of abuse and trauma in my life. And so I had a lot of conditioning that needed to go, and it's still going. It's not like I'm perfectly healed at this very moment. There's still stuff in there. So anyway, I put the house in the middle, made this beautiful vision board. It was so fun. They're always fun.
Yeah.
And I manifested that house within 1 year. I moved into that house.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. So that was my first big manifestation.
Yeah.
And now I have just kept doing it and doing it and doing it over the years. I mean, I manifested myself a master's degree education that was $150,000. And, I've never really made that much money. I've made money flipping houses and that kind of thing. But I have just been able to live. Oh, you know what I think of it as? I did it as a miracle. So the house was a miracle.
Yeah.
And all these other things that I have been able to manifest have been miracles because I just don't have that many resources. One day I was thinking, I should do a budget. I should really look at how much money I really have. And because I basically purchased mostly what I want, and my income is really weird right now.
Yeah.
So I thought I would do a budget. So I did a budget and I looked at it, and what I was actually spending and what I was taking in, it was like thousands of dollars different in the red. So I call it this. I call all of these manifestations, I call it the fishes and the loaves, because the
Absolutely.
numbers, they don't match. They're the mathematics of the thing. It makes absolutely no sense in the physical world. But when I need something, I go and get it, and there's money there. And it just seems to be the fishes and the loaves. It just keeps coming.
Yeah, that's coming back to the idea of God as source. Like when we move out of our headspace of ego going, well, here's what I've got, and here's what I can do, and here's my plan, and here's my strategy, and here's how I'm going to make it happen. And instead surrender into that divine presence that goes, wait a minute, I'm part of an infinite universe that is my all sufficiency. And all that I have need of is always right where I am. And I'm not sure if they're miracles or just a natural outpicturing of the law.
It's law. It's law. And I
Yeah.
didn't really know that. See, when I found New Thought, it was so interesting to me because I was already doing New Thought, and I had done it for years and years and years, and I didn't really call it New Thought.
Yeah.
And then when I found it and I started really getting into the traditions, I had the framework to put around what I was already doing.
Right.
And how fun it was for me, because I was just getting these downloads from spirit, from random authors, studying back in the day, like Carolyn Mace. I really got into Carolyn Mace at some point, and it is about provision and God being the provider. So
Yeah.
I just loved when I finally landed here that I had the framework to put all of this in, of all things met. Everything is working together for my highest good at all times. God is my provision. God is my provision. It doesn't matter where the money comes from, because God is the provider. And when I'm radiating out the gratitude that I already have inside of my heart for what I already have, then that just brings more and more of it back to me. And so, I have some tricks for manifesting.
So we've talked about the vision board.
Yes.
What else do you have? What other?
Well, recently, a friend of mine and I, Christina, we put together a prayer for my health. And we did the at Agape, we do a 6-step treatment. And it's the 5 steps, but the first step is gratitude. So we did a 6-step treatment, and it was very long. It's very long and very detailed and very involved. And so what I did was I created the prayer, and I still have yet to do this. I will usually make a vision board for whatever it is that I want to manifest that's already kind of in a prayer. Like I did one on energy management, and I don't know if your producer might have that one. I could briefly touch on that if you would like. It is the one with the picture of me and Jesus photoshopped together.
That's awesome.
Things I want to manifest, Jesus and I together is one thing I'd like to manifest. So a little trick that I did. So everything is a vibration, correct?
Mhm.
Everything is a vibration. And when I read the prayer or say the prayer to myself, it brings that vibration into attunement and into alignment with perfect health,
Mhm.
comfort in the body temple, God providing me, of course, the divine intelligence that I found in that cell in 1986. That divine intelligence. So I believe it is done to you as so you believe. I
Mhm.
believe that I can magnify the healing in my body temple.
Mhm.
So I have done that with the prayer. So since the prayer is really long and I have symptoms coming and going, when I feel a symptom, what I did is I matched the vibrational frequency of the entire prayer, which literally takes 6 minutes to recite because it's very specific.
Mhm.
I matched that with a tag sentence, and the tag sentence is peace be still. So
Beautiful.
when I create a connection between those few words with the connection of the many, many words, I can evoke that prayer at any time during the day without having to go, oh, I need to read. No, I don't need to read the whole prayer. The vibrational frequency of the entire prayer is in the words, peace be still.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, yeah.
Well, it's interesting when, because I did some healing, I mentioned earlier
Yes.
as well that, and the healing for me happened because I had been, I mean, I had been praying about it and doing my treatments for quite some time around my health. And when I was diagnosed with spinal stenosis and told that it would never get better, it could only ever get worse, and there was no treatment for it, I thought, well, I can't really live in pain forever. So let me just keep treating for my health. And the doctor knows what the doctor knows from the doctor's perspective, from what
Yes.
they know historically from other patients. They don't know me. And last year I went to a convention at Unity. Uh, and when I was getting on the flight, I had my walker with me and doing my thing. And I thought, wait a minute, if Myrtle Fillmore could heal herself of tuberculosis in the 1800s, I can heal myself today of this condition or any other.
Yes.
And there was, in that moment, it was just this full acceptance of that idea. There was no, well, the doctors, like, there was no doubt in my mind whatsoever. Right. And as you said earlier, it's
Yes.
done unto you as you believe.
Yes.
So I spent the next 4 days walking around with my walker and, dealing with the pain and stuff. And on the Thursday morning, walked into the convention hall to listen to the speaker with my walker. And when I walked out, I was completely healed. And I put the walker up in my hotel room and didn't use it again.
Ah,
And the people I was, the woman I was rooming with, which is Cheryl, who does the Spirit Cafe with me on Wednesdays,
uh-huh.
she was my roommate, so she was witness to it. And then a couple of the other ministers here from Canada that were down there with me. So I have this collective. And then I came home and my husband is like, say what? I got my wife back? Like, how'd that happen?
Yes.
But the minute we can accept something as true, the minute we can believe it, not pretend we believe it, but actually own it and go, yeah, that's so done. It's
Yes.
just in that moment, it's complete.
I love that. See, that's the kind of miracle that I'm talking about. And
Yeah.
that kind of stuff is actually in that prayer.
Yes.
The prayer says, the story of in the Bible where the woman goes through the marketplace to touch Jesus' tassels, to
Yes.
touch the
Yeah.
hem of his garment. That is in my prayer. And I believe that in my heart of hearts. Like, I believe
Yeah.
that's now, I don't believe a lot of the stuff that's in the Bible. I just don't, because a lot of it is crazy. I just don't, but I believe that. I definitely believe that. I believe the energy of that story. I believe that if when I am touching Jesus' tassels, that I am being healed. And if it is done to you as so you believe, then I
There
am
you
being
go.
healed.
Well,
And
that's the thing. Like, one of the things about the Bible that I've come to really love about. I wasn't raised with religion like you. It was sort of
Hmm.
a non-thing. And so came to it through a spiritual epiphany. But as I have studied the Bible metaphysically, what I have come to understand is that, this is allegory, and the
Hmm.
stories are written that if we take the story and not look at it as historical fact, but rather the life journey of humanity, how we go from one thing to another, we can begin to see the value. It's like, Lot
Hmm.
leaving Sodom and Gomorrah and being told, don't look back. Well, what happens when we look backwards? If we're looking backwards, we're not growing. We can't move forward because we're not present in the now, which is the only point of power. So, again, that story makes perfect sense. We are crystallized in our life in the moment that we're busy going, oh, this happened, that happened. Yeah, it did. And now what? you know,
Yeah.
you want a miracle, you better get present now.
Well, for real. And so that's why I embody Christ and Buddha consciousness. Buddha consciousness has to be like
Hmm.
in here really solidly because that keeps me in Zen. The definition of Zen is being in the present moment.
Yeah. And it's the only point of power, right? It's the only real
Yeah.
thing that exists. It's the only place we can create. And, we can get real caught up in, projecting in the future and, struggling with the past. So forgiveness becomes a big part, I think, of manifesting as well.
I'm so glad you just said that because that is something that has been so important for me. I really, I have been asking for these miracles for a long time. And it took me to literally to death's door
Yeah.
before I had my, come to Jesus moment, the Christians would call it. And
Yeah.
I was done. I was going to die if something did not happen. And so I got into science of mind. And after a couple of years, I took a class. And I had always had this belief that, like, I didn't have to forgive. Well, because some kind of trauma expert told me once, oh, you don't have to forgive. I believed her. Well, then come to pass years and years later, after all this horribleness that happened, that now I know is for me, not to me.
Exactly.
Yes, is for me. I was able to say, "Oh, I'm willing to forgive." And Mike Bernard Beckwith told me that forgiveness is about willingness. So I said, I am willing to forgive. 3 weeks later, I forgave the unforgivable and I started to heal
Yeah.
exponentially after that. So
Yeah.
glad that you brought that up because for me, that was a major miracle because I was dead set on being angry and rageful and resentful and all of that for as long to keep me safe, to keep these people away from me, right? No. So I
It
forgave.
ties you to them.
I forgave and the rage and the anger and it all went away.
Yeah.
And it was just it's been such a miracle for me and I would not be sitting here in this conversation if I did not forgive.
Well, Mary Tumpkin wrote a book. She was the president of the Universal Foundation for Better Living, another New Thought organization, and she wrote a book that I think the title is "Before You Pray, Forgive." And I thought, what a powerful notion to go. My mind needs to be clear when I go into prayer. It needs to not hold
Oh.
resentment and judgment and criticism, whether on self or others, right?
Mhm.
So I love that idea, before you pray, forgive.
That is a good
And
idea. Maybe that's the 7th step and the 6th step treatment, the 5-step treatment.
we just keep growing these prayers, which is a
So
really beautiful thing.
everything evolves all the time in my
Always.
world. It's ever expanding and ever evolving consciousness, which is so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that for me produces it's an internal miracle, produces outward external miracles. It's
Yeah.
coming right to me like yeah, I say, yeah, this would be nice. This would be nice. I when it came to New Thought Media Network, I had a show all ready to go. I had it. It's been formulated. It's been given to me by Spirit. It was all ready to go. I didn't have a platform. I just run across New Thought Media Network. No, I didn't run across New Thought Media Network. So these little miracles come right to me. I didn't ask for New Thought Media Network because I was not in the how of the prayer. The prayer, it was given to me, you need to teach. God says, you are to teach. I am following my calling. Okay, I will teach. Well, if you're going to tell me to teach, you might want to tell me where I'm going to do this because I don't know what you're trying to do here. And then here comes the New Thought Media Network. Here you go.
The perfect platform.
Here's the platform. Here's your platform. Yeah. So you're given the vision, you're given the direction, you're given the calling. The obedience is you say, yes, I will do that. You told me, Spirit told me, do it. Okay, I will do it. I will do it. I was willing. I started putting it together, started writing it down.
Yeah.
There it was. And then I have this picture of Jesus in my head going like this. Like have you seen the lady that goes like this at the car show? At the car show? Jesus says that in my head. It's like, here you go.
There you go.
Here's your, and it's just like
asking you shall receive.
Asking you shall receive.
And on that note, let's just take a short commercial break. You're watching The Joy Show on the New Thought Media Network with my wonderful guest, Shay Davis. And let us take a little break and don't go away. We'll be right back.
Watch me change when you change the way you look at things. The things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
It's amazing.
The setting is absolutely breathtaking. The staff are so delightful and so nice and pleasant, and the food is amazing.
New Thought Media Network is on the rise. We're looking to grow with you. Do you have technical media experience or perhaps a desire to learn? Are you willing to volunteer your precious time and attention? We share this message to benefit all. If you possess a computer with a camera and a microphone, we will share our knowledge with you. Behind the scenes or being the star, let us bless our one. Contact us at info@ntmedia.org.
And we're back with Shay Davis here on The Joy Show. And so, Shay, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So you were given a vision.
I was.
And you've been given the network.
I have been.
And you've not set the date for your first show.
I have not. It is a collaboration,
Mm-hmm.
and Reverend Robert, as you well know, is at Camp Cedar Ridge.
Yes, he is.
He just launched another show too, so it's
Mhm.
just about divine timing. That's all it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
No hesitation here, because
No.
I think, a show like this is so valuable and important, and we don't want to wait until everything's perfect, because it never will be.
No.
And so I just wanted to find out was there a hesitation as to
No,
taking a part?
there's not any hesitation. Now there was. I'm glad you brought this up too. Well, see,
Yeah.
there was hesitation. Okay, so like I'm on the fence, and I'm like, oh, I don't know, this is really big, and like I can't figure out YouTube, and because spirit, spirit doesn't want to listen to these excuses either. So when I say, well, I can't figure out how to do YouTube, well, it was something else. It was oh, it's like, so I used to teach psychology in college, in regular college. And I'm like, well, I don't feel good enough to like get up in front of a class and teach. And I don't want, that's not what you're telling me to teach anyway. You want me to teach spirituality, right? Yeah, I just teach spirituality. So, well, YouTube. I said, oh gosh, okay. So then I go down the YouTube rabbit hole. So I'm like in the YouTube rabbit hole, and I'm like, I can't figure that, like I'm suffering from a neurological thing that's going on. So I'm like, I like literally couldn't figure out how to deal with YouTube. And so I like that excuse either. So,
Well, that's why I have Deja. I mean, I don't
yeah,
know
you
how
have
to use
Deja. Yeah, so it was just so interesting because when I found New Thought Media Network, I started watching Reverend Melissa and Sekou. And so like I don't even know, it had to have been like the second or third time that I saw her, and she kept saying to do it before you're ready. And I'm like, oh dang it. I was
that's
so
the thing.
busted. Like I was
Yeah.
so busted because I'm like, oh, I'm not ready. Like I'm not, I don't feel that great some days, and I might not be able to. I mean, all of this ego thing is all going on, right? And so here comes Rev Melissa, and she's saying, do it before you're ready. And my friend Christina, she's like, girl, you just, you can get on there and do it. And so like about this long after that, I was talking on the phone with Reverend Robert, and the whole thing just came together. So there was a little bit of hesitation. I was on the fence just a little bit. And then Reverend Melissa just pushed me right off the fence.
Right over the edge. But that's what happens. We get this idea, and then it is, the ego headspace going, yeah, but. And, years ago, I did a talk called Yeah, but.
Yeah, but it's yes and now.
Yes, and is a much better way of working. And I think sometimes our fear really can disable us. And miracles happen when we look at, like, I've often heard of fear described as, false evidence appearing real, which of course is fact. And then I coined feeling excited and ready. Because
look at you.
yeah, well, the energy of fear, like we feel it kind of in the pit of our stomach, right? That little anxious energy. But excitement feels exactly the same way in the body. So if we just call it excitement rather than being scared, all of a sudden, it's like we're creating a whole new intention by renaming it in a different way. And so being excited and ready, well, okay, let me go.
Yeah. I'm excited and ready. And I'm the first to admit that there is a little fear there, but I mean, you can see I'm doing perfectly fine right now. So
yeah,
it's just no thing. And I mean, in grad school, they made us talk so much in front of big audiences that I got over that fear a really long time ago about speaking in public. So being on a live show, I don't think is going to be a thing for me, but
you're doing it today.
Well, I still appreciate you having me here because I can get my feet wet a little bit. see what's going on in here. And like, there's nothing happening in here that I wouldn't. I mean, it's fine. And I'm prepared. Like, I'm so prepared.
Yeah.
I
Well,
have
and I
so many
think,
things.
yeah, the journey that we're on is really a journey, and there is no destination. It's,
Mhm.
moment by moment, day by day, we step forward and step into life, and we're always making choices. And sometimes the choice is to not make one. But that's
Even when you have not made a choice, it's still a choice. There's a
it's still a
song.
choice. It's still a choice. So you mentioned that you weren't raised with religion. And
No.
then you've come to it, and you talked about that experience with the cell when you were a teenager.
Mhm.
What other things have played into the journey to new thought?
Well, I have never come to, well, I wouldn't even say religion. It's for me, it's spirituality.
Yep.
And so, I mean, a million things happened when I first found God in that cell. And, way in my childhood, well, my one side is Jewish. My other side is literally WASP. I mean, literally WASP, white
Yep.
Anglo-Saxon Protestant, and then Jewish. So neither of my parents, like, I mean, my dad told me about Hanukkah and he tried to tell me the Hanukkah story, but I mean, we just consider ourselves bad Jews. Like, I didn't know what Seder, I mean, I didn't know any of it.
Yeah.
So when when I knew I had a lightning bolt come into my consciousness, that is God. So right after that, I did what most people in mass consciousness would do, and I joined a church.
Yes.
I
Yes.
went to church. I got baptized. It just so happened that one of my very best friend's fathers was the minister at a Baptist church, and I just got my butt right down into church. And
Yep.
I started going to Baptist church, and I was baptized, and um, I started listening to the sermons, and I was like, huh. I'm like, huh. I'm not sure. Like, really? Like, I don't know about this.
Yeah.
And I stayed for a little while, and I did the whole thing. And um, a little while into it, I was just kind of like, this face, whatever this face is right now, I was like, I don't know. And this is usually the face I get when I'm being gaslit.
That's funny. Well, in my experience, it's
I
very
never knew
similar.
that before until I just looked at myself just now. I'm like, what? So
Yeah.
one day the preacher was up on the pulpit and he was pounding the pulpit and he was saying, and this is back in the 80s, right? 1986, 1987. He was pounding the pulpit and he was saying, AIDS is a punishment for gay people. And he was pounding the pulpit and he was racist and he was, this guy. So
Wow.
after that, I turned my butt around and never stepped foot in there ever again.
Yeah.
I never
Well,
stepped I never
yeah.
stepped foot in there again. And that was when everything started to really expand. Now I had a foundation of I believed in God. I
Yep.
knew who Jesus was and I believed in Jesus. I believed in Jesus since that very get-go. I really did believe in Jesus and I didn't know exactly what that was. And now I know that there is a consciousness of Jesus and that's what I carry and that's what I
Mhm.
embody. I
Christ
embody
consciousness.
Christ consciousness of all of his qualities. So as the years went on, I got into holistic health. I went to school at a very progressive massage school that talked about body psychology, and so I started to get into more of the esoteric stuff. And then, like way back in the day, my mom was very metaphysical. She was very metaphysical. She still is. Or she was the abusive one, so I don't know about that. But the thing was, when I found religion, I thought the metaphysical stuff was blasphemy, right? So I had to
Yeah.
work through all of that stuff and get rid of all those false ideas. And then, way back in the day is Shirley MacLaine Out on a Limb. So I
Yep.
was introduced to that kind of stuff very early on, luckily for me. And then it was basically like Wayne Dyer, and it just progressed from there with just a bunch of these kind of old school guys who started talking about new thought before new thought was popular.
Yeah.
before, because I didn't know Ernest Holmes wrote his book in the early 1920s. Like, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
So, then I just started finding like Norm Shealy and Carolyn Mace, and, The Secret came out, What the Bleep came out. Gary Zukov was very instrumental in my
So, yeah.
journey. Oprah Winfrey, hello, Oprah Winfrey has been enlightened since day one. And back in the 80s, that's really all that was on that had any kind of like
It's true.
good stuff on it. And she started having on, Gary Zukov. And then, later on, of course, Michael Bernard Beck with Eckhart Tolle, all of the good ones. And, Gary Zukov, he says that true power is the alignment of your personality with your spirit. And I am so grateful that that has occurred for me. And very rarely, I don't know, Christina and I and some of my friends will start getting into like a little bit of gossip and all that guy's an a-hole. I just still go in there. I still go in there. I'm a human being, right? But for the most part, I am aligned. So a lot of things happened. Massage school was a very big one for me. And then the holistic health transition into, the body psychology part of that. And then I went to a very progressive school in Santa Fe, New Mexico for my graduate studies. And
Awesome.
they happened to have it's changed its name now, but it was Western. I went to Western State College in Colorado for my undergrad. And then my other school in Santa Fe was also called Western, which is so interesting to me. But they happened to have the Edgar Cayce Library, the biggest metaphysical library in the United States.
Wow, that's cool. That's
Yeah,
cool.
so it's a very, it was a transformative school. So all of that happened. And I mean, all the while I'm going through all this trauma with my family and la la la. So, I mean, I had to find it. I had to find it. And I have finally found it. And it was just put into a neat little framework for me when I found and like stayed in New Thought.
It's really, it's interesting how people come to New Thought, because often it can be from inspiration or it can be from desperation.
Yeah.
I know for me, it came out of desperation for sure.
Yeah, for real.
And my path was similar to yours. My mother-in-law at the time, who I really wanted to like me, asked me to go to church with her one Sunday night. And so I said, okay, I'll come, and we'll see what happens. And in that evening, I don't really know exactly what happened, but the way I would describe it is when I walked into the room, I was in complete darkness, but when I came out, there was light. And it was such a quick transformation. It was an illumination moment that I call my spiritual epiphany or awakening. And then from there, journeying along. But part of it was that I was in this very traditional Nazarene church, and it was everybody's going to hell except us. And I was questioning that, going, the epiphany moment I had was an experience of immense love and joy and comfort and peace. It was so beautiful. There's no way it included exclusion. And so I couldn't stay there very long. And then a friend of mine told me about Science of Mind, and I was able to move over. And the interesting thing was, in finding this teaching, there was just a huge shift for me in every area of my life.
Yeah.
Like you, I came from an abusive background and lots of trauma. And then, coming through it and coming out the other side is such a glorious journey to this place of, I'm okay the way I am.
Yeah, it's truly miraculous. It literally saved my life. I do believe it did. And yeah, it's interesting how you said, the whole church thing, because I kept searching for churches, like searching and searching. Like I would go to all these different kind of Christian churches with these bands. And I'm like, oh, this is really fun. They have a band. Oh, this is great. And then the guy up on the pulpit would say, Jesus is the only way to God. That's the only way that you can get to God. And I'm like, is it? I don't think so.
Is it? I'm not so
so.
sure.
I mean, I love Jesus. I got a picture of Jesus in my third eye. He's with me all the time. But is he the only way? No, he's not. He's just, I just can't, I just couldn't get into it. So it was just this search. So you know what is fun about the search? The search is it. The search is it. Okay, it's seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else will be added unto me. So I have been in the search, and so like finding it for me was the icing on this beautiful cake, and then it just exploded out of that. Now I just so happen to have a very woke psychotherapist who Ellen Woods, I'm going to shout out Ellen Woods right now here in Carbondale, Colorado. And I was in crisis. I was in, just major crisis. And I was calling her all that. It was crisis. And finally one day, we had been doing EMDR and all this crisis, all this work. For 17 years I've known and been with her. One day she says, you need to go to Agape. She didn't mince words. She knew, Spirit told her that that's what I needed. I went to Agape, and I will never forget. Now, it was during COVID. It started in 2020 is when she told me.
Okay, yeah.
It was during COVID. So everything was on YouTube. And I will never, ever forget the first time. Now, I had known Michael Bernard Beckwith for a long time, but I didn't know that he was the Agape guy. I didn't know anything about it. So I get on YouTube, and this moment where he does the welcome to the new people, he says, we see you. We see you for who you really are. We love you. You are home. You are welcome. And the tear, I just knew that I just started bawling and bawling. Now, this last Sunday, when he said the same welcome that I've heard hundreds and hundreds of times, bawling and bawling of just like, thank you, God.
Acknowledging and being seen for who we are is such a remarkable thing, because most people do not. They're so busy projecting onto us who they think we should be or what they want us to be or whatever their story is, that nobody actually sees who we are. And I remember the first time I heard Reverend Michael, it was at a Silmar, and it was in 1998, the year I was graduated. And I'm sitting there, I just finished my orals and everything. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, because I'm not your traditional reverend type, and I thought, I don't know about this. And then I'm sitting in Merrill Hall, and Michael comes on stage, and he is like energy back and forth. And all of a sudden he's going, you know why Jesus could walk on water? He got out of the boat. And I'm like, I like this guy.
Yes. Well,
what I got out of that was there isn't one way to do ministry.
No.
Ministry is a calling of your heart to be your true, authentic self, and to grow into that fully and to share that with the world. And that's where you got wham from.
I got wham right from that. We are the miracle. And I will also never forget the day very early on when he said, you are a unique thought. You are a unique emanation of God. And to me, it's incredible to me and a miracle to me that some of this information was shocking to my system of like, I deserve to exist. Like I deserve to live. I deserve to be uniquely myself. And it has grown exponentially as to the point of where yesterday, do we have time for one little short example still?
Sure. Yes.
Yesterday, everything is in divine timing. I had 2 shows coming up, yours and Finding the Joy in the Journey with Reverend Gina. And I just really needed to rest and relax. And I hadn't done my regular morning meditation. I see you, Reverend Melissa. Thank you so much. I was singing your praises just a minute ago. So I just decide, wham, we are miracles. We are miracles. We are miracles. Yes, lady. I decided to do a short visioning. So I just pull up, YouTube is my friend. Oh, okay. You can just watch anything you want any old time. And so I just saw it said, a short visioning with Michael Bernard Beckwith. So I get on there and I am listening to it, and it was amazing. I was envisioning and meditating at the same time. And it was, what is trying to emerge is the question. What is trying to emerge for your life right now? What is the gift? What is the gift? And I'm going to start to cry. I hope I don't start to cry.
That's okay.
What is the gift? What is the gift? It was very clear. The gift is me. The gift is you, Shay. You are the gift. And this was right before I was about to go on these shows, right? You are the gift. You are the gift. It was basically the message was, you don't have to do anything. You just go and be you. And that's the New Thought Media Network's little tagline is come be you. So here I am just being me. So I'm in this visualization and I'm in this deep meditative state. And this is craziness. I'm in this deep meditative state. And I don't know if you've seen my logo, but it's got lightning bolts coming out and flowers and all this stuff. So that came to me through visioning and meditation. So the usual lightning bolts are starting to appear in the flowers and everything. And then lightning bolts start coming out, and I see the lightning bolts as power. I see them as like God's power. I call God Sparky. I call God Sparky, the divine intelligent spark of creation of the universe, everything that's in the universe. So all of a sudden, I've never seen this before. Sparks come flying out of my whole body. Sparks are coming out of my whole body. I'm in this deep meditation. The electricity goes off in my house.
I'm not surprised. A little too much power in the room.
I blew a circuit in my house. And I come out of this deep meditation because it went off and then the stove beeped. And so I was like shocked out of this meditation. And then I just started laughing hysterically because the message was, you are to be you. You are to be uniquely you. And that's what Reverend Michael said that one of the very first times. You are the unique thought. So I had to just like regain myself and come back into the meditation. I was laughing so hard at God because it's so funny.
Well, and it's so perfect, right? And it's how I came up with the name for this show. Just One You.
I died.
Yeah.
I'm sweating. It's so hilarious. Because, see, right in this very minute, I've got that electricity, that power coming out of me.
Absolutely.
And then I went on the show. I was uniquely myself, and I got so much positive feedback, and I don't have to like do. I just be.
We are human beings, not human doings. Yeah, just be you, because you're created perfect, whole, and complete, unique and special like everybody else.
Just one you. Come be you. So I'm very, very grateful to be here and to be part of New Thought Media Network. And I have felt so welcomed. And I have a lot to give. I have a lot to share. I've been called to serve. And I'm going to do just that. I'm going to serve. Good. And not because I want to get anything, but because that's what God told me to do. So I'm going to do it.
Yeah, it's being in that alignment with the universe that allows us to actually move forward, to expand, and to create a sacred space for others who also get to have the opportunity of understanding how remarkable they are. I remember when I first started doing this, I would have my musicians do the song, How Could Anyone? And people would be just bawling their eyes out.
I don't know that song.
Oh, how could anyone ever tell you were anything less than beautiful?
Aww.
How could anyone ever tell you you're anything less than whole? Mm-hmm. It's a wonderful, wonderful little song. And also one that I think Ricky Byers did, which is, I love myself so much that I could love you so much, so that you
I love
could
that
love
song
me so much, so that you could start loving me. And
yes, that is it.
What we don't have, right?
Yes,
So,
I love
yeah.
myself now so much, and then this just unconditional love just comes pouring out. Like, I don't even know you from a it's not about even knowing the person, it's about the energy matchup
Mhm.
that is this unconditional love. And
Absolutely.
when I'm so loving myself and integrated, like all of my little children are integrated, and I just
Yeah.
love them so much. I just love them so much. I just want to eat them. You are so cute. How could anybody not tell you how beautiful you are? Well, I don't know, but I have
Yeah.
to forgive them 70 times 7 at least once a day.
Well, and forgiveness is really about, letting go of someone else's, attachment. Like when we are unforgiving, what we are is tied to that circumstance, to that individual. In the moment that we sever that, and there's a great YouTube video by Nadia Bowles-Weber on forgiveness, and she talks about, using bolt cutters to snap that connection
Mhm.
so that
Yeah,
we are no longer tied
cord
to.
cutting.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's how powerful it is to acknowledge that I am so over this experience that I refuse to give you another moment, that, you don't get to run my existence, or this old idea doesn't get to run my existence. And I heard
Mhm.
one minister say, resentment is like drinking poison, expecting somebody else to die.
Yes.
And I thought
Yes.
that's, when we're holding resentment, we are killing ourselves.
Yeah,
And
and yeah, that happened to me. I
yeah,
was literally dying,
mhm,
and Reverend Michael just spoke right to me in a class. I was in a Zoom class, just a very small class, and he said that holding non-forgiveness is like being victimized and punished twice, and
more than twice, because
more
we
than
do it
twice
daily,
every
moment by
day.
moment, hour
It
by
was
hour,
really
right?
yeah, it was hurting me. It was really hurting me, and
It
I
does.
just have so much relief, and I think that's a really good idea, Barbara, about the cord cutting. I've learned lots of different ways to do that, but if you evoke um, Archangel Michael,
Mhm,
Archangel Michael can come in with that sword and cut that thing. And I haven't done
mhm.
that in a long time. I wonder if that might be everything. See, I take in everything everybody says. I'm like, well,
Yeah, a
that
little bit
sounds
of
like a
anything
fun
and
thing to do
everything.
at this point after I've done all this forgiveness work is cut some more cords and see how that
Yeah.
feels.
It's freeing ourselves from what we wanted that we didn't get, or,
Mhm.
experiences we've had that, we are still kind of holding it some energy around, to
Yeah.
just surrender all of that. And I think for me, the Christ consciousness is about being fully present and in a state of love and grace for all life. And so I don't see the world as needing to be fixed. I don't see people as needing to be fixed. I
Mhm.
see everything in divine harmony. And from that place, evolution occurs in a way that is truly remarkable for all concerned. Thank you so much for being here. We
Thank
are at
you
the
so
end of our time
much.
already. I can't wait to see your show when it comes out. And
Thank you
thank you,
so
Shay.
much.
And thank you, Melissa, for being here. And anyone else who's watching, I'm so grateful that you're here. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And you're watching The Joy Show. I'm Barbara Schreiner Trudell, and we're on the New Thought Media Network. See you again next week. Bye for now. Thanks, Shay.
Thank you.